I never believed the past could literally come knocking at your door. But that evening it knocked 3 times, steady, confident, just like he used to. I was taking the salmon out of the oven when I heard the knock behind me. Ethan, my fiancé, was standing by the sink, drying his hands with a towel. "Were you expecting someone?" he asked. "No, probably a delivery," I replied, though a strange chill had already begun to creep inside me. When I opened the door, the world split in two. Jordan was standing at the threshold. The same Jordan I once loved to madness. The one whose death I mourned 2 years ago after that crash on the highway between Santa Monica and Malibu. The one who taught me to live with the emptiness in my chest and whose shadow still wandered through my dreams. He looked different, thinner. A scar running down his cheek, exhaustion in his eyes, and something else I couldn't quite name. But it was him. "Hi, Sophia," he said simply. His voice, that same low note I remembered, the one that used to whisper, "I'll find you even if I have to walk through hell." And apparently he had. "Is this some kind of joke?" I whispered. You're dead." "No, just gone." "Long story. I can explain if you let me in." Behind me, Ethan's voice cut through the silence. "Sophia, who is it?" The moment froze. The scent of salmon in the air mixed with something sharp, like ozone before a storm. That evening, the 3 of us sat at the table. Ethan, wearing a deliberately calm smile, but gripping his fork like a weapon. Jordan, silent, worn out with the eyes of someone who's seen too much. And me, caught between them, between 2 worlds that were never meant to meet. After the crash, the tide carried me to the shore. I survived, but I was in a coma. When I woke up, I didn't remember anything. Not even my own name. Just a face. "Yours." I listened, but my mind couldn't keep up with my heart. "Why didn't you come back the moment you remembered?" "Because I was afraid. I found out you had a life of your own. I didn't want to destroy it. But then I saw your photo in a local magazine with your fiancé, and that was it. I couldn't take it anymore. I don't know how to explain it. I just knew I had to at least say I'm alive." Ethan raised an eyebrow, and you decided to say it over a salmon dinner. His sarcasm was like a knife, sharp and gleaming. Jordan swallowed hard without replying. I didn't want trouble. I just couldn't leave without seeing her eyes. I didn't know what to say because the truth was when I saw him, my heart broke loose from its leash, as if 2 years of healing, laughter, and wedding plans meant nothing at all. That night I didn't sleep. Jordan had disappeared, promising not to bother me. Ethan didn't speak either. He just lay beside me, staring into the darkness. His silence hurt more than any words could. On my phone screen, a message blinked. "I'll be leaving tomorrow, but if you want to know the truth, meet me at the lighthouse, 7 a.m. I knew I shouldn't, but my heart had already decided for me. Morning was as foggy as my thoughts. The lighthouse stood over the ocean like a silent judge. Jordan was waiting, leaning against the railing. The wind played with his hair, and against the backdrop of the waves, he looked like a ghost from the past returned only to take me with him. "I thought death would free me from everything," he said quietly. "But even then, I couldn't let you go." "Don't say that." I felt this thing of tears burning my eyes. "You have no right to come back and just break everything apart." "I'm not breaking anything, Sophia. You'll decide for yourself what's real." He stepped closer, and the air between us grew unbearably thick. "Just tell me you don't love me anymore and I'll go." I said nothing because to speak would mean to lie, and to lie would mean betraying someone. Maybe both of them. When I came home, Ethan was sitting on the stairs with a cup of coffee. He didn't ask where I'd been. He just looked at me directly without anger, but with a pain that made me feel guilty in every cell of my body. "He's alive, and I don't know what to do with that," he said. "Do what you always do when you don't know. Listen to your heart. Only this time, not his, yours." I didn't realize then how prophetic those words would be, because the very next day, everything turned upside down again. I thought the worst was behind me, that Jordan would just leave. I cry a little and then go back to my familiar world. Coffee in the kitchen, the smell of cinnamon, and Ethan's jokes about his survival program for fiancés. But I was wrong. The past never leaves quietly. When I got to the office, everything around me felt strangely tilted. People were talking, laughing, but I could only catch fragments. Death, police, the coast. A chill ran through me. On the lobby TV, the news was playing. No names were mentioned, just footage of a wrecked car on the same highway where Jordan had died 2 years ago. But this time, next to the crash site, stood a familiar black pickup. His pickup. I ran outside almost breathless. My heart was pounding like an alarm. He hadn't disappeared. He'd gotten himself into something again. And I could feel it. This time it was real danger. He was waiting for me at the corner cafe. Hood pulled up looking like someone who hadn't slept in days. "Did you see the news?" he asked. "Yes, and honestly, I'm scared." "What's going on, Jordan?" He lowered his eyes. "Something I didn't want to tell you. When the crash happened, I wasn't alone. I was transporting documents for a company that had ties to people who aren't exactly on the right side of the law. Back then, I didn't even realize what I'd gotten myself into. And now they're after you. They think I'm dead. And I wanted to stay that way." A shiver ran through me. "Then why did you come back at all?" "Because I couldn't live without seeing you." I clenched my hands, trying not to give in. "So what now?" "Now I'll leave for good. But before I do, I wanted to say goodbye and thank you. You're the only thing that kept me alive." He looked up, and in his eyes was everything. Pain, guilt, despair. Then suddenly the sharp ring of my phone. "Ethan." I pressed accept. "Sophia." His voice was tense. "Where are you?" "We've got a visitor. Says he's looking for you from the police." I froze. Jordan sank back in his chair. "They found me," he whispered. "It's for me." When I ran home, there really was a detective standing in the living room. Tall, dark coat, the kind of eyes that had seen more than they ever wanted to. "Miss Sophia Campbell." "Yes." "We're reopening an investigation from 2 years ago. A car accident on the coastal highway. New evidence suggests one of the victims survived. You were engaged to him, correct?" I nodded. Ethan squeezed my hand, silently, asking, "Are you going to tell the truth?" "Yes, I was." I said, "But that was a long time ago. If he reaches out to you, let us know immediately." The detective said that man may be involved in the theft of classified data. He's wanted for questioning. When the detective left, I collapsed onto the couch. "Sophia," I stayed silent. "I get it," Ethan said quietly. "This hurts for both of us. But you have to choose." He paused, his voice barely above a whisper. "Not between him and me, between the past and the future." That evening, I went back to the lighthouse. The wind was sharp, the sea dark as a sleepless night. Jordan was standing where he had before, but now his shadow seemed even longer. "They're looking for you," I said. "And if you don't leave now, they'll lock you up." "I've already decided," he replied. "But before I go, I needed to hear one thing. Do you love me?" I closed my eyes. In my head, memories of him carrying me on his shoulders along the beach, of him kissing me in the rain, and at the same time, Ethan holding me when I was sick with the fever, quietly cleaning the kitchen when I cried over old photos. "I loved you, Jordan." Past tense. "Yes," I whispered, "because a love you can't share with the present is only a shadow." He smiled through the pain. Maybe that's the end then." I didn't know everything was about to change again. From far away came the sound of sirens. I turned. Red lights were already flashing on the highway. "They're coming," I shouted. "Go." "He won't run twice," he said. "Enough." He stepped toward me and brushed my cheek with his fingers. "Thank you for giving me the chance to see what life could have been." And he walked straight toward the police. I stood in the wind watching as his figure disappeared in the glare of headlights. The past had finally truly gone. When I came home, Ethan met me in silence. He was broken, too. I pressed myself against him. Something real, warm, alive. For the first time in a long while, I didn't want to run from reality. "Is he gone?" Ethan asked. "Yes, and this time I think it's for good." "Then let's go inside," he said simply. "We still have so many unfinished things." I smiled through tears because for the first time I understood that unfinished things. That's what life really is. 2 weeks passed. The house was quiet again, but not the kind of quiet that suffocates. Now it was like the breath after a storm when everything still smells of rain, but inside calm begins to grow. I learned not to flinch when my phone chimed, not to search for a familiar name in the crowd, not to ask myself if it was really over. Ethan and I were sliding back into our old rhythm. Morning coffee, wedding plans, evening shows. But something inside me still acted, like a room in my soul where his shadow still stood. I didn't enter it. I just knew it was there. One evening, Ethan came home from work with an envelope in his hand. "A letter for you," he said, setting it on the table. "No return address." I knew immediately who it was from. My heart clenched as I tore the edge open. Inside was a single page yellowed with salt and wind. "Sophia, if you're reading this, it means I've done what I couldn't back then. I put an end to it all. I've given testimony about everything. About the people who used me. About the documents that nearly cost more than 2 lives. I probably won't be in the country anytime soon. Maybe never. But now I'm free. You once said that a love you can't share with the present is only a shadow. You were right. I was a shadow. And you're the one who helped me see the light. I still love you very deeply. Don't be sorry. Just live a happy life. From Jordan." My fingers trembled as I slipped the letter back into the envelope. The tears came later, quiet, clean, not from pain, but from gratitude. Because this time it was a real goodbye. "Did he write?" Ethan asked softly. I nodded. "Yes." And for the first time, I didn't feel guilty. He smiled and brushed his hand against my face because sometimes you have to face a ghost to finally come back to life. We sat in silence. Golden light poured through the window. The sea beyond the city shimmered with reflections. And for a moment it seemed even the waves were calmer tonight. I used to think love was fireworks. But maybe real love is more like a fire in the hearth. It doesn't blind you, doesn't burn. It just keeps you warm every day. And it doesn't go out if you take care of it, he added. We sat side by side, and I felt everything inside me finally fall into place as if every fragment of the past had found its peace. Our wedding was small, just a few close friends. The old lighthouse and the ocean in the background. The same lighthouse where I'd last seen Jordan. Maybe that's why I chose it. Not as a memory, but as a symbol that even after the storm, you can still find your way home. When we stood there, wind in our hair, Ethan took my hand. "Ready?" "Yes." I smiled for the first time. Truly. And as we exchanged vows, I thought I saw a figure on the distant cliffs beyond the mist, tall in a dark jacket. He didn't move, just watched. I closed my eyes, and when I opened them, he was gone. Later, when everyone had left, I stayed by the ocean for a while. The waves crashed against the rocks, and I whispered, "Thank you, Jordan, for teaching me how to let go." The wind caught my words and carried them out to sea. And I stood there feeling not sadness but lightness, as if my heart had finally released everything that once kept it anchored. That night I woke to the sound of rain. Ethan was asleep beside me, calm, deep in sleep. I got up and moved to the window and suddenly caught a flash of lightning that lit up the sky for a brief moment. And it seemed to me that among the drops on the glass, a message appeared, blurred but familiar. Love isn't always about those who came first. Sometimes it's about those who stayed when the light went out.